Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas listening to me. Today we'll continue from the 21st chapter of Sambandha Path. The topic of this chapter is illusory energy of the Lord. Before that, let us offer our prayers at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and all our previous acharyas. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुरन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तद्कानचन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनाम पावनेभ्यो श्री वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So the first question of 21st chapter is the mode of goodness the cause of material bondage? Answer is, the shackles of Maya are of three kinds. They are shackles made of mode of goodness, shackles made of the mode of passion, and shackles made of the mode of ignorance. The illusory energy or Maya binds the punishable living entities accordingly. The living entities are entangled by the shackles of Maya regardless of whether they are situated in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Although golden shackles, silver shackles, or iron shackles are made of different metals, nevertheless they are shackles and nothing else. Second question is, which sense enjoys which material object? Answer is, form by the eyes, sound by the ears, smell by the nose, taste by the tongue, feeling heat and cold, soft and hard by the sense of touch. In this way, the five senses are enjoyed. Third question is, what is the definition of happiness for conditioned souls? Answer is, the attached householders who are absorbed in various material miseries in family life, constantly searching after the remedy of their miseries. In this way, they think that they are happy. Happiness in this world is not actually happiness, only a remedy for some distress. Fourth question is, what is the position of the conditioned souls? Answer is, because of their misdeeds, the conditioned souls fall into the ocean of material existence and suffer perpetually. They continue swimming, trying to reach the shore, but they can't, because the material ocean is unlimited and insurmountable. Fifth question is, what result do the conditioned souls achieve after being disturbed in the happiness and distress of repeated birth and death? Answer is, conditioned souls think that material life is the source of happiness and separation from this life is the source of distress. Thus, they give up the shelter of Lord's lotus feet. Being ass-like servants of Maya, they become fully absorbed in the material life. Sixth question is, why is it wrong to have attachment for one's material belongings, opulence, wife, children and relatives? Answer is, material wealth is of no value. Supreme wealth is spiritual knowledge. Just once consider this in your heart. You have no real relationship with your wife, sons and friends. After your death, they will immerse your body in water and return to their homes. If one cannot claim anything as one's own, why hold on to the false hopes and desire of material relationships? And why hold on to the thirst for material belongings? Material belongings are like a drop of water, unable to quench one's thirst. Seventh question is why are the living entities entangled in the cycle of birth and death? Answer is, O Lord, you are the personification of complete spiritual bliss. I am fragmental spiritual spark. Therefore, by nature I am your servant. You are supremely independent and I am dependent on you. I have brought about my ruination by rejecting your lotus feet. When I misused my independence and turned to Maya, my original nature left me. Conditioned by Maya, I came into the material world and fell into the wheel of karma. By your sweet will, Maya binds me with the iron chain of misfortune. By this unseen power of yours, I have been put into the womb of Malini as a son in the house of Srivasa. Eighth question is, does Krishna associate with Maya? Answer is, as the sun cannot enjoy its shadow, Krishna cannot enjoy Maya. What to speak of Krishna enjoying Maya? He is not even seen by the persons who are under the shelter of Maya. Yet simply by the mercy of Krishna, one cannot easily see him through samadhi. One can easily see him through samadhi. With this we complete the 21st chapter and move on to 22nd chapter, which is called Living Entities. The first question is, what is the history of living entities falling from their constitutional position into the material world and their attaining their eternal service? Answer is, the living entity is like a minute spiritual spark. As soon as he forgets Krishna, he is attracted by the illusory energy of the Lord and is thrown into the material world. As soon as he falls down, Durga gives him a gross body made of 5 gross elements and their 5 attributes and 11 senses, and then puts him into the wheel of karma. He is just like a prisoner and experiences happiness and distress, heaven and hell. Durga also gives him a subtle body made of mind, intelligence and false ego within the gross body. By means of the subtle body, the living entity forsakes one's gross body and takes on another. The living entity cannot get rid of the subtle body, full of nescience and evil desires, unless and until he is liberated. On getting rid of the subtle body, he bathes in the Viraja and goes up to the abode of Hari. Such are the duties performed by Durga in accordance with the will of Govinda. Second question is, what are different stages of consciousness of living entities? Answer is, the conditioned souls are situated in 5 different stages of consciousness: covered consciousness, diminished consciousness, budding consciousness, blossomed consciousness and fully blossomed consciousness. Third question is, what are the constitutional and conditional states of living entities? The living entities has 2 states of existence. In the pure state, he is fully spiritual and untouched by matter. Because he is a minute part and parcel, there is the possibility of his changing his position. By nature, Krishna, the Supreme Consciousness, never changes his position. He is truly great, complete, pure and eternal. The living entity is a tiny part and parcel of Krishna and is able to become impure and unwise. But constitutionally, the living entity is great, complete, pure and eternal. As long as the living entity is pure, he is in his constitutional position. Only when the living entity becomes contaminated due to his contact with Maya does he fall from his original constitutional position. Then he becomes impure, shelterless and afflicted by happiness and distress. As soon as the living entity forgets his position as an eternal servant of Krishna, he falls into the material existence. As long as the living entity remains pure, he is proud of constitutional position. He proudly considers himself a servant of Krishna. As soon as he becomes contaminated due to the contact with Maya, his pride as a servant of Krishna becomes diminished and his pride takes different forms. The pure state of the living entity becomes covered with gross and subtle bodies when he is in contact with Maya. Cultivation of pure love of God is the constitutional duty of the living entity. This love pervertedly appears in the subtle body in the form of happiness, distress, attachment and detachment. When it is further condensed, this perverted form of pure love appears in the gross body in the form of eating, drinking, and enjoying sex pleasures. You can therefore understand that the eternal constitutional duties of a living entity are manifest only when he is situated in the pure state. The characteristics that appear in the conditional state of a living entity are temporary. Constitutional duties are eternal, complete, and pure. Fourth question is, what is the meaning of eternally forgetful? Answer is, service to Krishna is the eternal constitutional duty of the living entity. Forgetting his position, the living entity becomes controlled by Maya and forgets Krishna. Because he is forgetful of Krishna, ever since he came to the material world, there is no history of the living entity's fallen condition within material time. Therefore, the words eternally forgetful have been used. From time of the living entity's forgetfulness of the Lord and entrance into the material world, his constitutional duty has become perverted. Fifth question is, which souls have covered consciousness? Answer is, trees, grass and stones have covered consciousness. The symptoms of consciousness are almost non-existent in them. Sixth question is, which living entities have diminished consciousness? Answer is, animals, birds, insects, reptiles and aquatics like fish have diminished consciousness. Seventh question is, what are the stages of consciousness for the conditioned souls? Answer is, the consciousness of the embodied conditioned souls can be divided into three: seedling consciousness, blossomed conscious and fully blossomed consciousness. Eighth question is, who has seedling consciousness, who has blossomed consciousness, in addition who has fully blossomed consciousness? Answer is, people without morality and atheists possessing morality have seedling consciousness. Theists who possess morality and practitioners of devotional service have blossomed consciousness. Devotees who have attained the stage of bhava have fully blossomed consciousness. Ninth question is, how are living entities entangled in the three modes of material nature? Answer is, living entities who reside in the upper planetary systems and who are in the mode of goodness are called demigods. Their feet are bound by the rope of goodness or gold. Living entities that are in the mode of passion have a nature like both the demigods and human beings. Their feet are bound by the rope of passion or silver. Living entities who are intoxicated by material pleasure are in the mode of ignorance. Their feet are bound by the rope of ignorance or iron. 10th question is, do living entities go through birth and death in the spiritual existence? Answer is, birth is an act in the mode of passion and death is an act in the mode of ignorance. The eternally existing spiritual essence, Shuddha Sattva, has never been touched by birth or by death. 11th question is, how does the spirit soul suffer in his conditional stage? Answer is, the material body is a prison for the living entity. The spirit soul is never a limited object, but due to accepting a material body, he suffers distress and inertia. 12th question is, in what category are demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva? Answer is, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma did not take birth from the womb. They are not counted among the living entities who possess 50 qualities in minute quantity. But Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are separate parts of the Supreme Lord. Since they possess not only the 50 qualities in greater quantities but also the 5 other qualities, they are known as the principal demigods. Ganesha and Surya, the sun god, are also principal demigods and they are worshipped on the same level as Lord Brahma. The other demigods are considered ordinary living entities. All the demigods are separated parts of Krishna. Their wives are also separated parts of the spiritual potency. Before the advent of Krishna, Lord Brahma ordered the demigoddesses to take birth in this world for Krishna's pleasure. 13th question is, what are the activities of Lord Shiva? Answer is, Srimad Bhagavatam verses such as Vaishvanama Yatha Sambhu glorifies Shambhu as a Vaishnava. The purport of such statements is that Shambhu unites with Durga Devi according to his own time potency and the will of Govinda. Thus, he accomplishes his tasks. In many scriptures headed by the Tantras, he teaches religious duties that are a ladder for the jivas of various qualifications to come to bhakti or devotion. By Govinda's sweet will, Shambhu indirectly protects and sustains Shuddha Bhakti or pure devotion by preaching the doctrine of Maya Vada or illusionism and intellectual or imaginary fabrications of the scriptures. The 50 qualities of the Jiva are present within Shambhu in copious proportions, and 5 more great qualities unattainable by the ordinary Jiva are also found in him in partial proportions. So Shambhu cannot be categorized as a Jiva. He is the Lord of Jivas, Ishvara, although he partakes of the nature of a separated part, Vibhin Namasa, of the Supreme Lord. 14th question is Lord Shiva a separate truth from Krishna? What is the difference between Sadashiva and Rudra? Answer is, Shambhu is not another god separate from Krishna. Those who hold such a biased view of blasphemers of Supreme Lord. Shambhu's control is subject to the control of Govinda, and so they are not really different from each other. Their non-difference is illustrated by the example of milk transformed into yogurt by adding of an agent. Similarly, the Lord becomes transformed into another form. That form is independent. Tamoguna, or the material quality of inertia, the quality of minuteness of marginal potency, and a minute degree of mixture of divine cognizance, samvit, and ecstasy hiladini, all these elements combined constitute a particular transformation. The planary positions of the Supreme Lord that is amalgamated with the transformation constitutes the halo of divinity of Sadashiva, the masculine generative organ of Lord Shambhu, and from Shambhu, Rudradeva is manifest. 15th question is, why do Lord Brahma and Lord Shambhu have delegated functions? Answer is, the progenitor Brahma and Shambhu are dislocated portions of Mahavishnu. Hence, they are gods with delegated functions. 16th question is, what is the meaning of Shiva Lingam? Answer is, efficiency is Maya or the productive feminine organ. The material principle is Shambhu or the procreative masculine organ. 17th question is, who are Rudra, Bhava or Bhairava, and Rudrani, Bhavani or Bhairavi? Answer is, Shambhu, the symbol of masculine mundane procreation, is the dim halo of this reflected effulgence. It is this symbol which is applied to the organ of generation of Maya, the shadow of Rama or divine potency. The first phase of the appearance of mundane desire created by Mahavishnu is called the seminal principle of Mahat or perverted cognitive faculty. 18th question is, why do Lord Brahma and Lord Rudra enjoy pastimes with the inferior energies of the Lord? Answer is, the dislocated portions of the Supreme Lord, Prajapati and Shambhu, both identifying themselves as entities who are separate from the divine essence, they sport with their respective non-spiritual Achit consorts, Savitri Devi and Uma Devi, the perverted reflections of the spiritual Chit potency. 19th question is, who is Shambhu? What is the purpose behind the combination of the Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga? Answer is, the original unadulterated entity in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the All Truth, free from any concept of separate egoism. The separate masculine organic egoism, that is, the separate symbolic existence that appears in the mundane world, is only an illusory reflection of the pure existence and represented by the original Shambhu. That existence unites with the distorted representation of Ramadevi, the Mayic or mundane female womb receptacle principle. At that point, Shambhu is represented as the efficient cause only in terms of elementary matter. Again, when in the course of revolution all the universes are manifest, the evolved conception of Rudra also appears within the entity of Shambhu, who is, as previously explained, born from the brow of Mahavishnu. However, the entity of Shambhu is constitutionally egoistic in all circumstances. When the innumerable jivas, who are sparks of Chit or transcendental consciousness emanating from the Chit rays of Paramatma, identify themselves in the pure ego of exclusive servitors to the Supreme Lord, the relationship with the Mayic world no longer endures. They become members of Vaikuntha. When they forget that ego want to become enjoyers of Maya, the egoistic principle of Shambhu enters their existence and gives them the frame of reference of being separate enjoyers. Thus, Shambhu is the basic truth underlying the egoistic world and the mundane body ego of Jivas. 20th question is, what is the description of Lord Brahma and Lord Rudra? Answer is, Brahma is the dislocated portion of divinity manifested in the principle of mundane action, endowed with the functional nature of his subjective portion, and Shambhu is the dislocated portion of the divinity manifested in the principle of mundane inertia, possessing similarly the functional nature of his subjective portion. 21st question is Brahma or Shambhu the Supreme Lord? Answer is, by principle, Brahma is the superior to ordinary jivas, but is not the direct divinity. The divine nature is present in a greater measure in Shambhu than in Brahma. 22nd question is, what is the description of Ganesha? Answer is, the self-same Ganesha is a god of possession of delegated power by infusion of the divine power. All his glory rests entirely on the grace of Govinda. 23rd question is Surya, the sun god, the supreme controller? Answer is, the sun is after all the presiding deity of a sphere of sum total of all mundane heat and hence a demigod exercising delegated authority. The sun performs his specific function of service certainly by the command of Govinda. 24th question is, what are the special characteristics of Lord Vishnu that distinguish him from the other delegated demigods such as Lord Shiva? Answer is, although the Supreme Lord separated parts and parcel, the jivas belong to the category of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. Because of their contact with nescience of material nature, they have become under the sway of material modes of passion and ignorance, and are now in the Misra Sattva or mixed category. Even demigods like Lord Shiva, though far superior in many ways to the ordinary jivas, are nevertheless captivated by the material glare due to the false identification. So they fall in the category of Misra Sattva. The Supreme Lord is always in pure goodness. He descends to the material world by his inconceivable spiritual potency and is always the controller of the material nature Maya, who is ever ready to act as his maidservant. 25th question is, how are the living entities superior to material nature? Answer is, living entities are spiritual sparks and therefore spiritual qualities are present in them. Spiritual sparks possess free will because they cannot be separated from spiritual qualities. Free will is certainly present in the living entities according to the proportion of their constitutional size. Because of possessing free will, the living entities are superior to the material nature. 26th question is, if free will is a disadvantage, why did the Lord give free will to the supreme entities? To the living entities. Answer is, free will is like a special jewel. If the living entities were not given free will, they would be very lowly and insignificant like matter. 27th question is the Lord responsible for the living entities' misuse of free will? Answer is, it cannot be said that God gives the distress the living entities suffer due to misuse of free will. The Supreme Lord is not to be blamed in any way. He is not responsible for the distress of the living entities suffer due to their transgressing rules and regulations. If the Supreme Creator forced the living entities to accept anarthas, he would be at fault of discrimination. However, if the living entities had used their free will to strengthen their spiritual attachment, they would have increased their own glories. If they did not have free will, they would not have an opportunity to increase their own glories. We should know that by giving such wonderful free will to the living entities, the Supreme Lord has displayed His mercy upon them, and degradation caused by misuse of free will is meant to rectify and deliver the living entities. 28th question is, what is the meaning of marginal nature? Answer is, sometimes a river bank is washed away by the force of water and becomes part of the river. And again, when soil accumulates at the riverside, it becomes the river bank. If he looks to Krishna, the living entity becomes under the shelter of Krishna's spiritual potency. If he looks to Maya, he becomes opposed of Krishna and is entangled in Maya's trap. This nature of living entity is called the marginal nature. 29th question is, can a living entity and the Supreme Lord ever be equal? Answer is, the Supreme Lord has created the material world through His external energy Maya. In the material world, a separate truth from the Supreme Lord, called the living entities, have been conditioned by Maya. Maya is the energy of the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord is the master of Maya. The living entities are always different from the Supreme Lord. 30th question is, how many types of parts does the Supreme Lord have? Answer is, the Supreme Lord has two parts, His own expansion and His separate part. The quadruple planary portions of His own expansions and the living entities are His separate parts. He can compare the differences between them. The planary positions are non-different from Krishna. They are always omnipotent. Their will is dependent on the will of Krishna, and they have no independence. The separate parts are eternally separate from Krishna. They are less potent because of their finite nature, and their desire is completely different from Krishna's desire. 31st question is, are the living entities eternal or temporary? The living entities are eternal and they are also be temporary. The source of the living entities is the energy of the Supreme Lord, and this energy is eternal, beginningless and unlimited. Therefore, the living entities are eternal. The living entities who become to the eternal unlimited energy are eternal, but the will of the Supreme Lord is most powerful. If the Supreme Lord wishes to destroy the living entities, He can certainly destroy them. For this reason, the living entities can also be temporary. 32nd question is, can the living entity become the Supreme Brahman? Answer is, although the living entities are called Brahman, they cannot become the Supreme Brahman because the Supreme Brahman is complete and unchangeable. The living entities emanate from the marginal potency of the Supreme Brahman. There is therefore a specific distinction between them, the living entities and the Supreme Brahman. 35th question is, when can a living entity attain peace of mind? Answer is, as long as living entity enjoys the fruits of his own karma, he can never attain peace because he is weak, unable to and incomplete. However, when he surrenders to the Supreme Lord, he has no longer limits. So I think there is a printing mistake because after 33 they have written 36. So we'll continue like that. 36th question is, who is the opposed to the Supreme Lord? Answer is, Those who have not had loving devotion to Krishna awakened in their heart are always proud of remaining under the shelter of Janana and Karma. They are called Bhagavat Bahirmukha, opposed to Krishna. Those who worship many gods, those who are Mayavadis and thirsty for impersonal Janana, and those atheists who defy Vedic literature are all Bhagavat Bahirmukha, opposed to Krishna. 37th question is, what is the difference between the endeavors of the fruitive workers and mental speculators? When do the living entities become introspective? Answer is, the gross materialist endeavors for sensual delights and aspires for the ephemeral heavenly bliss in his next life. The mental speculator is wholly concerned with how to mitigate his existential suffering. The surpassing these stages, the jiva becomes introspective. 38th question is, what concept do mundane people have? Answer is, they take credit for the so-called advancement of scientific technology and the material comfort it brings. But everything happens by the Lord's will. They conveniently forget this fact. 39th question is, who does not accept the existence of God? Can atheism harm God? Answer is, those who learn to make arguments in their childhood due to bad association gradually become controlled by prejudice and deny the existence of God. This attitude only harms them, not God. 40th question is, can one realize the existence of God materially? Answer is, some unfortunate people do not believe in the existence of God. Their eyes of knowledge are shut. Since they cannot see God with their material eyes, they think that there is no God. Just as blind people cannot see the light of the sun, spiritually blind people cannot believe in the existence of God. 41st question is, when can the living entity realize his constitutional position? Answer is, a fire that is covered by ash is not identified as ash, and when the ash is removed, the fire displays its heat and light. Similarly, when the gross and subtle bodies of a living entity are destroyed, the constitutional position of the living entity is realized at once. The ash of the gross and subtle bodies covers the fire of the living entity. Does the living entity not have an identity until these two coverings are removed? Yes, he does. As one can feel some heat if one sits in front of a fire covered with ash, similarly, this living entity covered with gross and subtle bodies can also identify himself to a certain extent. 42nd question is, what is the definition of living entity's material existence? Answer is, considering the subtle body to be the self, the living entity has concocted a new body made of mind, intelligence and false ego. Considering the psychological and physical factors, the embodied soul is mistakenly thinking these items are his assets. Being proud of his gross body, made of 5 material elements, he thinks, I am such and such Bhattacharya, and I am such a such Sahib. Sometimes he dies, sometimes he takes birth, sometimes he is puffed up with happiness, and sometimes he is overwhelmed with distress. How glorious these changes are! How glorious are the tricks of Maya! Accepting a male body, sometimes the living entity marries a female, and sometimes accepting a female body, he marries a male and establishes a family life. In this material existence, he serves his respectable elders, maintains his dependence, fears the king, and hates his enemies. Becoming a chaste woman, he feels very shy and is afraid of people's criticism. In this way, being entangled in temporary relationships in this magical material existence, the living entity has fallen far away from his original constitutional position. The condition of the living entities situated in the material existence is pathetic. Considering some rules and regulations of material existence as his master, he has totally forgotten Krishna, his eternal master. 43rd question is, who are non-Vaishnavas? Answer is, Learned scholars, rich people, powerful people, Brahmins, kings, and their subjects who are devoid of devotional service are non-Vaishnavas. 44th question is, what is the result of proper thought? Answer is, the only difference between the animals and the human beings is that the animals are devoid of proper thought and human beings are capable of the thought. Self-realization is the result of proper thought. 45th question is a godless civilization better than animal life? Answer is, even though human beings are civilized and advanced in material science and morality, they can never become superior to animals unless they accept God. 46th question is, who is not fit to be called a human being? Answer is, a person who does not know what this world is, who he is, who the world was created by, what his duty is, or what